I want to talk to you about the most effective creative director at the 2026 World Cup. He doesn't work for Adidas and he doesn't have a corner office, a team of strategists or a media budget with 7 figures attached to it. And in 4 days flat, he did something that should make every marketing department on earth milk and pay very close attention. His name is Valen Scarsini. He trades online as El Scarso. And what he engineered around a completely unknown New Zealand footballer called Payne is one of the most instructive things to happen in marketing in years. Here's what he did. Scarso ranked every single player, all 1,248 of them, for the World Cup by Instagram followers. Then he went to the bottom of that list, found a man sitting there in last place, pointed at him and told his audience, "This is our man." The mission is simple. Make him famous. The man at the bottom was Payne, 32 years old and a defender for Wellington Phoenix, a team you don't know in a league you've never followed, in a country where they've never won a World Cup match. He had 4,700 followers and he'd posted twice a year. By the end of that week, Payne had 5 million followers. Let me give you a sense of the scale of what that means. The All Blacks, one of the most recognisable sporting brands on the planet, 130 years of history, a global following built over generations with a full-time digital marketing team working on it every single day. Payne passed them twice over. Air New Zealand, the beloved national carrier of the country Payne was playing for, gone. Heinz, a brand whose ketchup sits in the fridge on every inhabited continent, a name older than the motor car, overtaken by a reserve fullback who hadn't posted since January. And I want to be precise about something here because this is where the real lesson lives. Payne is not the story. Payne is the canvas. Scarso didn't discover a hidden gem. He didn't find a man with extraordinary charisma or a highlight reel that needed to be told. He found a blank space, a man at the bottom of a list who was, in the most useful possible sense, an empty vessel. And then he filled that vessel with meaning, with community, with narrative. And he did it in 4 days from his phone with no budget whatsoever. That distinction matters enormously because what Scarso understood, and what most brands fundamentally do not, is that the internet doesn't need a reason to love someone. It needs 2 things, permission and direction, and Scarso supplied both. The 5 million people did the rest themselves. He is in the truest sense a creative director. He had a thesis, he identified a gap in the cultural conversation, he cast his lead, wrote the brief, and in a single sentence, and he got out of the way and let the audience make the film. No approval chain, no 6 weeks timeline, no stakeholder presentation, no brand safety review. Now, the moment Payne went vertical, watch what happened. The brands swarmed. McDonald's was in the comments. KFC was in the comments. Duolingo, the reigning champion of the online brand desperation, was in there. Inter Miami hustled Payne into promoting their training sessions the moment New Zealand arrived in Florida. All of them pressing up against the warmth, hoping some of it transfers. And I understand the instinct. Marketers have a phrase, borrowed interest. The principle is straightforward. You cannot manufacture genuine affection from a logo, so you find someone who has it and you rent it from them by the post. Influencer marketing, the entire industry, is just the industrialization of that exact transaction. But here's what that frantic pylon actually reveals. The brands knew, and they've always known. They watched Scarso construct in 4 days what they cannot construct in 4 years. And their collective response was to ask Payne for a selfie. Not one of them picked up the phone to Scarso. Not one of them asked, "How did you do that? What was the thesis? How did you identify the gap? How did you move 5 million people with a single piece of direction and no production budget?" Because that conversation is uncomfortable. That conversation requires admitting that the thing they cannot do, the thing that no budget, no team, no strategy deck can reliably produce, is the thing that actually moves people. Organic warmth, genuine character, the sense that something is happening that wasn't planned, that wasn't bought, that wasn't reverse engineered from a data dashboard. Scarso created a character the internet could decide to love at once. Not a celebrity, not an influencer in the conventional sense. A character. There was a face, a story, an underdog, a man visibly bewildered by his own sudden fame, saying gracias and meaning every syllable of it. That is the thing you cannot put in a brief. And here's the final turn. The brands that swarmed Payne this week will go back to their desks on Monday and write the case study. They'll count the impressions. They'll calculate the earned media value of a comment under a post with 5 million followers. They'll present it at the next company meeting as a moment of cultural agility. And they'll have learned absolutely nothing, because the lesson isn't Payne. The lesson is Scarso, the creative director with no client, no budget, and no fear of the brief coming back with 47 amends. So the question I'd leave you with is this. Your brand almost certainly has a Tim Payne somewhere. A story sitting at the bottom of a list, waiting to be pointed at. The question is whether you have the Scarso to find it. And if not, why not? You should consider checking your luxury brand to get yourself a free brand score. You can't fix what you haven't measured. Most luxury brands operate on instinct, but this tool gives you something better, a score, built around the questions that separate brands that lead their category from the ones that follow it. It takes just 2 minutes and gives you a unique and clear result. Take the assessment. Click the link below.